Welcome, welcome, welcome. And it is without further ado that I am honored to bring you my 2023 movies ranked list. All 120 feature films I have seen, whether they be on the big screen or the small screen. But now, I don't like to do everything like the same as everyone else, where they just take their own opinions in. I like to make everything harder on myself. So I devised a massive spreadsheet to take into account my rating of every movie I saw this year, plus 6 others' ratings of the same movies, assuming they saw the same movies. And then I took an average of all of that, and then I rearranged the list to be in order of lowest to highest based on the averages of mine and 6 other ranked ratings. Which means every time that there's a movie that I thought super highly of, but no one else saw it, it gets pretty low in the rankings. But don't worry, if you're still curious on how my list looks in comparison to this massive list, I did leave the link in the description to my Letterboxd list, and I do have a little tab on the slideshow, because I made a PowerPoint for this, saying where it is in my year's rankings. And I also kept track of how many people saw each movie, so you'll see a lot of 1s out of 7s, and a lot of every other number. 1s out of 7s seem to be the most common one. But without further ado, I think it's time to get started on this video, and let's get into it. Time codes will be in the description as well, or maybe in the comments on which section of the ranking you want to see. But let's get started at number 120, and that is Spy Kids Armageddon. My goodness, this movie is just insulting. As you can see, only 1 out of the 7 people who I took into account for these rankings saw it. Of course, that one person being myself, and honestly, I am quite happy that no one else saw this, as it was a gigantic waste of time. My goodness, this movie just, it ticked me off to all extents. But there's 119 more movies to go, and most of these movies have reviews for them, so if you want my further thoughts on them, go check out the reviews. But let's move on to 119, and that is Buddy Games Spring Awakening. My goodness, this movie is so annoying and unacceptable. I was really disappointed with how this one turned out, because I did like the first one. As you can see in my year's rankings, it actually falls in 116th, so it actually moved down 3 spots in this grand ranking. But on to 118, and that is Legion of Superheroes, the DC animated feature that I was just kind of upset by, because when I started watching it, I was expecting Legion of Superheroes, but then I started watching it, and then I was getting this cool Supergirl story, and then it just ended up being a mishmash that I don't think was properly fused between the two. But as you can see, placement in my rankings is 114th, so it fell 4 spots from my rankings to these grand rankings, because no one else saw this movie. Now on to 117, and that is Pain Hustlers, a movie that I was really hoping for more, as it has Emily Blunt, it has Chris Evans, and it was directed by David Yates. I was expecting more, and unfortunately it did not do very hot with me. As you can see, 113th, but it fell down to 117th in the grand rankings. On to the next one, 116, they cloned Tyrone. My goodness, this movie was underwhelming. I really enjoyed the mystery, I enjoyed the acting, I just got so bored during this movie, and it's kind of sad. As you can see, 113th, seated, landed at 100. Oh my goodness, I messed up. This was 112th. Whoopsie daisy. It's too late to fix that now, because I'm too lazy. Moving on to 115, Family Switch, a movie that is just pure cringe. As you can see, 111th, 115th in this final rankings. Not much else to talk about that I didn't already say in my review. On to the next one, 114th, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, a movie that just needed more. It was just not very fleshed out. 110th, fell down to 114th. Really just kind of a shame. On to the next one, 113th, Invitation to a Murder, a murder mystery movie that I just sort of found on my own. And as you can see, 104th, this is where the big gaps start to happen. It was interesting. I did kind of enjoy the mystery. It's just that it just felt like a lamer Knives Out, which is why it fell so low. On to 112, Wish, a movie that just wasn't grand enough in nature for it to be celebrating 100 years of Disney. It's just unfortunate, and it falls at 112th. Although I was a little higher on it. I was at 103rd, but no one else saw it, so it falls pretty quickly. On to 111, You People. I already forgot what this movie was about. I just remember one funny scene about Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy in the car, and they were talking about the song Neighbors in Paris. But as you can see, 102nd overall on my list and 111th on this massive list. But on to 110 as we finish the bottom 10, It Lives Inside. This movie was just a little upsetting. It had a fairly good premise, but as is usually the case, horror movies are very hit or miss with some things, and this one just missed, as it's just frustrating seeing how the events of the movie could have easily been avoided if they were just a little more thoughtful. I just you hate to see these kinds of movies. But now on to the second bottom 10 at 109. It's Peter Pan and Wendy, a movie that's just sort of underwhelming, and I don't really know why it's called Peter Pan and Wendy. I think if they just called it Wendy, people would have understood it as well. A movie that really should have probably never have been made in the first place. I don't know, it's just a little underwhelming. On to 108, which is Knights of the Zodiac. It's alright. As you can see, it's 94th. It only falls down this low because no one else saw it, but it's just fun, I guess. It's cool. It's not a great anime adaptation, I realize. But one thing that I find really funny is that I knew immediately when I saw Sean Bean, I'm like, he's probably going to die in this, isn't he? And he did. Spoiler, I guess, but let's be honest, no one saw this. On to 107, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, one of the newer releases on this list. I am one of the only people who saw it, which is why it falls so low. As you can see, it was in my 92nd, so it wasn't too high up. 15 place drop, but it's just trying too hard, and you can tell that a lot of it was cut, and you can tell that the studio just sort of gave up at this point, because let's be honest, they did. They're just getting ready for James Gunn's universe. But now on to 106, Flamin' Hot. Too many biopics this year, honestly, and some of them were stretching the truth a little too much, and this was one of them. As you can see, 89th, 106, pretty steep drop. But on to 105, Ghosted. It's just forgettable. It's all right. It's an Apple movie. You don't really expect much from Apple TV movies. You do mostly expect them from the shows. It's forgettable. I'm the only one who saw it, and honestly, good for everyone else that they ghosted this movie. Haha. On to 104, Eileen, a movie I actually really enjoyed and found intriguing. As you can see, it's 79th, which doesn't seem like I enjoyed it a lot, but it was just so fascinating. It was an interesting tale, and I really liked the performances of Anne Hathaway and Thomasin McKenzie, but it just did not have enough to pull people in, because I guess one thing that this movie takes into account is marketing, and I didn't even really think about that when I was making the ratings, but someone pointed it out to me. But that's 104, Eileen. As you can see, it was 79th on my list, but 104th in this grand list. But now on to 103, Trolls Band Together. I actually kind of enjoyed this one. It was a lot more fun than I expected. I watched this immediately before another movie that's way higher up on the list. But 103 from 78, not too bad. You're about to see some more egregious ones. 102, When Evil Lurks. This is a really well executed horror movie. The problem is that there's just too much coincidence and convenience for like just the characters doing stupid shit, and that's what causes them to get on with the story. I just really don't like those kinds of horror movies. They're not my favorites, but it was still really good. I really liked the world building that they did in this movie. On to 101, Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain. I thought this was fine. It was enjoyable. Please Don't Destroy are very funny. I see potential in them. But no one else saw this movie, probably because it's on Peacock. But yeah, I really hope more people get around to this movie, because it's rather enjoyable. 100, Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. This is the most Part 1, cursed movie ever. Like, this year has had multiple Part 1s of 2s, and this one is the most cursed one, because it just does, 3 movies worth of world building in 2 hours and 20 2 hours and 20 minutes, and it really makes it feel like so much longer than it actually is. It's most unfortunate, and it's just so bloated. As you can see, 70th on my list, 30 place drop. But on to number 99 as we finally cracked the top 100. To End All War, a little documentary that I watched getting ready for Oppenheimer. Nothing really to see here. As you can see, I gave it a pretty positive review, 67th, but no one else saw this, of course. But let's just move on. 98, Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2, a movie that I very much enjoyed. It was a fun Scooby-Doo tale. And I'm very happy it did end up getting that release that I was scared it wasn't going to get when I first saw the leaked version of this film. On to number 97, A Good Person, Zach Braun, directing and writing, starring Florence Pugh and Morgan Freeman. Very good, very worthwhile. It's a very heartwarming tale, as you can see, 58th, 97th. No one else really saw this, as you can see, at 1 out of 7. But very good, very enjoyable. On to number 96, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. I found this so enjoyable, and I'm very sad not more people on my group here actually checked it out before making this video and on the last day of 2023. But it was so fun and enjoyable, really kind of worth that long wait that it took to get this one from the first one. But on to number 95, Migration, one of the newer movies that I saw. This was just surprising, honestly. It was such a fun little tale about ducks, and it's kind of funny how both of these are about ducks and chickens and just birds. But yeah, this was a fun little movie. I had talked enough about it in my review, which you can check out on the channel. Number 94, Asterix and Obelix, The Middle Kingdom. I'm a big Asterix and Obelix fan. I grew up watching the cartoons. I have the comics. I watched a bunch of the live-action movies earlier this year, so I was really heavily waiting for this one to come out, and when it finally came out on Netflix, I was dying, and I loved it. No one else saw this, unfortunately, which is why it's a little lower, but it's just so much fun. It's so much fun. I love the Zlatan bit so much. One of my favorite bits in all of movies this year. Number 93, The Killer on Netflix. No one else saw this. And I just now realized I grabbed a poster that's in German. Great. But yeah, no one else saw this in my group, and so it falls really low, but I thought it was a really interesting flick. Moving on to number 92, still a Michael J. Fox movie, the documentary about Michael J. Fox, and I do really enjoy this documentary. It's really interesting to see how Michael J. Fox is doing and why you really don't see much of him anymore, and it's kind of sad to think about, but it's so worthwhile seeing this documentary. It's probably one of the best things Apple TV Plus has put out this year. Moving on to number 91, No One Will Save You. This movie is so interesting. I loved what they did with it and how it was pretty much a silent film, and they actually set up character interactions that there wouldn't really require dialogue, unlike another silent movie that was also released this year, where I will get to later. But at number 90 in the top 90%, Tetris. I loved this movie. Not many people saw it. Again, an Apple TV original. Those are really hard for people to see. Not many people see those. But this one was so much fun. I loved the soundtrack and the score for this movie. It was just awesome. And I'm honestly going to have to rewatch it again soon because it's just so good. Now, in the top 90, Nimona. Another Netflix original that I don't think anyone really saw. As you can see, I am really high up on Nimona, 17th in my overall list, but since no one saw it, it falls to 89. This is such an underappreciated movie. I think more people need to check it out. I don't see it getting many Oscar buzz or anything. It's just so upsetting how underappreciated this movie is. At number 88, Taylor Swift The Eras Tour movie. Don't judge me. Okay, that was 15th on my list. I had a lot of fun with this. Moving on, 87, Mr. Monk's Last Case of Monk movie. Gosh, I love the show Monk, and I was very happy to see this movie and see it come out. Every character, like all the actors picked up their roles, like they didn't skip a beat. They were awesome. It's such a great memory, and I just hope we get that Monk Psych crossover here soon in the near future. Number 86, Mummies. Finally, we're getting to those where multiple people have seen the movie now. As you can see, 2 out of 7 people have seen it. This is a fun one. Surprisingly, I wasn't expecting it to be a musical, and it ended up being musical. The music was all right. The story was fine, but as you can see, it was just 98th on my list, but it got bumped up to 86 because multiple people saw it. Moving on, 85, Murder Mystery 2. It was good enough. Honestly, I'm really harsh on murder mystery movies, so they got to be really good. And this one was just like slightly above average. Really enjoyed it. As you can see, it moved up 5 places because on my rankings it's 90th and it's at 85. Moving on, 84, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Christmas Cabin Fever. I've been calling this the wrong name the entire time because I've just been referring to it as Cabin Fever. As you can see, 109th moved up to 84 because 2 people saw it. One of them, of course, being myself, obviously. I don't know, I've not been liking these, but I keep watching them anyway, so it's just one of those things, you know? Moving on, 83, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It's just forgettable. It moves up 3 spots, though. Yeah, you can, like I said, a lot of these DC movies, you could feel that they're just sort of over it, and they just sort of half-assed the tales, because everyone knew that the universe was ending anyway. But let's move on to 82, which is another one, The Flash, the most overhyped movie of the year. If this movie wasn't so overhyped, I think it would have been slightly better received because there is a pretty interesting story in the middle. In the beginning, it sets up a pretty interesting story, but it just loses that thread at the middle and near the end. And it's so unfortunate how it just kind of shies away from The Flash in the second and third acts. Number 81, When You Finish Saving the World. This movie, in another world, was probably a horror movie is what I have to say about it. This was an early one that I saw. Interesting. Yeah, that's all I'm going to really say about this. 80, Leave the World Behind. A movie that the ending just really upset me, but someone else watched it and really liked it, which is why it moved up so many spots on this list. But yeah, I don't know. Just everything about the movie, there's so much that just infuriates me that I couldn't be very high on this movie, and it upsets me how high it is on this final rankings. Moving on, 79, The Pope's Exorcist. This is just so much dumb fun, honestly. I wouldn't mind seeing more of these, honestly, because it's that much fun to watch. 78, It's a Wonderful Knife, a movie that is so fantastically stupid. I loved every second of it. None of my friends liked it. That I dragged out to see. As you can see, 4 out of 7, and it's at 78, is rough. But I enjoyed it, and no one else did. Let's move on. Hypnotic, 2 out of 7, at 77. I ranked it at 48th. It's just a lamer Inception, honestly, and that's all I really have to say about this film. It's interesting in concept, interesting in all that, but it's just too convoluted at points. It's, like I said, not as good as Inception, at least interesting Inception. Moving on to 76, The Tutor. Plot twist. This movie is way too high up, but I think it's just because I dragged 2 other people to go see this with me. Yeah, I would talk about this movie, but all I remember is that Garrett Hedlund killed Noah Schnapp's mom in this movie, I think, because they were having an affair. I don't remember. Number 75, Strays. It was decent. It's a decent comedy. I'll probably turn it on the background every once in a while, and just, if I end up looking at the screen, I'll know I'll have a little bit of a laugh. 74, Meg to the Trench. Honestly, I think they should have had rock and roll over some action sequences in this movie. Would have been so much better. But as you can see, it was at 105 for me, and it ended up being at 74 somehow. Moving on, 73, You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah. This movie is incredibly Jewish. I didn't really relate to it as I am a non-Jewish male, and this is very much a Jewish female movie. I didn't really... I enjoyed it. It was fun enough for what it was. Yeah, I'm very excited to just see what else this whole cast does. Number 72, Paint. I always thought that this movie was about Bob Ross, and then when we actually sat down and watched it, it was not about Bob Ross, and it was a spoof, and honestly, I could see this being a horror movie in another reality. 71, Inside. This movie is so weird. I completely forgot how weird it was until I looked at it again, and then I remember the whole concept. It is... Oh my god, this year was the year for weird movies. But let's move on to 70, Polite Society, a movie that I almost forgot to include on the list and was almost misranked, but then I fixed it, don't worry. But yeah, it's just Indian Scott Pilgrim, pretty much. It's fun, it's enjoyable. As you can see, it was 47th on my list, but only 2 people saw this of the group. So let's move on. 69, Nice, May December. one of the creepiest movies of the year, because if you know what it's about, you'll understand. It's a grooming movie, and goodness gracious, Julianne Moore is creepy as hell in this movie. But yeah, very interesting tale on Netflix. Go check it out if you have it. As you can see, it's 33rd in the year for me. Moving on, The Iron Claw. Such a phenomenal film about brotherhood, and it's so sad. I legitimately could not believe how much I nearly cried in this film. And I saw someone say that this is the Little Women for boys, and I couldn't agree more. Honestly, that's a funny statement. Moving on, 67 is 65. 5 out of 7 people saw this movie, and as you can see, it didn't get higher than 67. I was almost tempted to move this around so that it would be the 65th movie of the year on this grand rankings, but then I felt like, no, it needs to be lower, honestly. As you can see, I have it at 119. It really benefited the most by having multiple people see the movie, but they all still hated it, so it didn't do too hot. But damn, I did not like this movie. It was very boring, very boring. Moving on, 66 is Wonka, a movie that would have done better had one of the people actually been able to finish the movie today as I'm recording this video. I delayed the making of this video just for them to see it. I misspelled whimsical, but shh, don't worry about it. As you can see, it's 39th on my list, but only 2 people saw it, so it's at 66. 65, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's the best one of the series since Catching Fire, in my personal opinion. I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I kind of want to see a Hey Mitch Abernathy prequel, because that'd be really interesting. I saw that somewhere, that someone said that they should make one, and I agree. Moving on, 64, Anyone But You. I loved this movie, and I think everyone knows the reason why. I think a lot of people like this movie for the same exact reasons I do. Yeah, moving on. As you can see, I have it at 16th and it fell at 64. Moving on, 63, Knock at the Cabin, a movie that I just really did not like. As you can see, it was at 117th for me, but enough people saw it and liked it that it boosted it up to 63. I really don't have much to say about this. I just did not really enjoy this film. I thought it was a little just preachy and just bad, honestly. Yeah, moving on. 62, Leo. This movie gives me all the hope in the world. I really like Adam Sandler's performance in this. I really like the tale of it. It may not look like I liked it a lot, but I did enjoy it. 62 for Leo. 61, Blackberry, a movie that should be so much higher, because as you can see, I have it in my top 10 of the year because it is phenomenal. It is great. Everyone should go see Blackberry right now. Only 2 out of the 7 people saw it, and honestly, more people need to check out this movie. It is so good. And it's also a limited show as well now, so go check it out. There's no excuses. In 60th place, we have Silent Night. This is the other silent movie where, honestly, it did not have any reason to be silent. This movie needed so much dialogue. They did so many things to show dialogue on screen that they just refused to do it. They should have just... It's annoying. It's annoying. 60th place, I put it at 97th. The action's good, but goodness gracious, the philosophy behind making the movie was just... Its gimmicks were too much to handle. 59, Totally Killer. This movie I love for no real reason, and all my friends hated it, but gosh, this movie was awesome. It was so much dumb fun. I love dumb fun, if you haven't noticed already. 27 for me, 59 overall. Moving on, Plane, a movie that was so underwhelming. It should have had more action. It was so lame. Like, the main action sequence took 2 minutes. As you can see, 108th, it moved up because 4 people saw it. Moving on, 57, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. A movie that, honestly, I will use as, like, a parenting tool in the future. Not many people saw it. I think more people should see it. It's one of those movies. It's good. I just don't find it great or exceptional because my definition of great, or my, like, things to make it great or exceptional are very different than everyone else's. Moving on. 56, Gran Turismo. Yep, Race Car Go Brr. I enjoyed it. It's all right. Moving on. 55, Megan. This was the first movie I saw this year, and it was all right. I always made the inside joke saying that I did not like the Megan dancing, and I was always going to act super scared around it. As you can see, it was 65th, moved up 10 spots because I just saw a lot of movies this year that I liked more than Megan. Moving on, Infinity Pool, 61st on my list, 54th here. This was probably the most messed up movie of the year. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about, and if you didn't, I'm not going to tell you it because you deserve to not know. It's probably for the best. 53, Operation Fortune Ruse de Guerre, a movie that was supposed to come out last year that I was really excited about because I just love this cast, and I was very happy to see it this year. Definitely worth the wait. I just wish it was. I wish it came out last year, honestly, so I would have seen it earlier. But it was fun, and that's all you could really ask from Operation Fortune. Moving on, 52, Priscilla, very good movie. It had my best performance, my best lead actress performance until I saw another one that's way higher up on the list. But very good performance from the cast, and honestly, kind of excited to see what Kaylee Spaney does in the future. 51, Scream 6. This is probably the last one of the series. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but as you can see, I really liked it. It was at 28th on my list. 50th, Fool's Paradise. I liked it. As you can see, it was just one off. I have it at 49th on the year, and it's 50th in the year here. Pretty fun. I enjoyed the premise a lot. I just liked the cast, and they were all very fun and likable. But yeah, moving on. 49th, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I love dumb movies, and this is one of the dumbest. My friends, the group that I took with, because as you can see, there's 2 out of 7 of the 2 people that I took to go see it with me, also loved it and thought it was super dumb fun, and that's why it's at 49th in the top half of this list. Moving on, 48, The Blackening. Yep, this has the best tagline I've ever seen for a movie. It is so much fun. This movie is so much fun. Very excited to maybe check it out again this upcoming Halloween of 2024. Moving on, 47, The Marvels, a movie that was so much more surprising to me. I was so much better than I could have ever expected it to be because I did not really like Captain Marvel. I did not really like Miss Marvel, but this one really handled everything so much better. Very fun, enjoyable watch. Moving on to 46, About My Father, a movie that I really just wanted to see because Robert De Niro, and I thought I saw the funny joke in there, and I really enjoyed it. It was very fun, very funny. Moving on, 45, A Haunting in Venice. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite mystery movies. It's my favorite of this series. And honestly, I really hope Kenneth Branagh manages to keep going making these movies. 44, Freelance. It's just a fun action movie, honestly. 52nd overall for me, 44th here because a lot of people saw it. But yeah, moving on. Theater Camp. This is so charming. It's such a fun little picture. I wish it got more attention. I think more people need to check it out. It's an enjoyable flick, and everyone should check it out. 42, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It's better than the 4th one, and I just kind of enjoyed most of it. I don't know. It just got a little convoluted at points that I just couldn't really enjoy it any more than I did. 41 is Napoleon. I hated this movie. It was awful. As you can see, I have it at 118th because it was only slightly better than 65 and Spy Kids Armageddon. But since 6 out of 7 people I took ratings for watched this movie, it flew up the ratings. As you can see, that's the biggest jump so far and not the biggest drop. I just don't want to talk about this anymore. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania coming in at number 40. It's fine. It's not as bad as everyone thinks. I just think there is a way to make it better, and they should have just referenced Jedi Fallen Order to make it better. I go into enough detail about that in Ant-Man and the Wasp: my Quantumania review, so go check that out. Alrighty, in the top 30%, if I did my math right. I already forgot. Thanksgiving, 39, very good, solid movie. I really enjoyed this slasher movie. I kind of hope to see a second one because we still don't know who the second killer was. 38, The Holdovers, another fantastic movie that should be way higher, but not enough people have seen it. Go check out The Holdovers. As you can see, I have it at 11th in my overall list, in my personal overall list, but it falls to 38 because only 3 of us saw it. Moving on, Haunted Mansion. I think this would make it for a good amusement park ride. Moving on, 36, The Boy and the Heron. I enjoyed it. It just, I don't know. There were just way too many good movies this year, honestly. And so this one kind of fell by the wayside, and I just enjoyed others more. 35, 80 for Brady. This was so much dumb fun. I loved it, and I just really liked the whole explanation on how Tom Brady came back. The Patriots won that Super Bowl against the Falcons. Very funny, stupid. 34, House Party. This one's wild, honestly. I kind of want to throw a house party now, in all honesty. Moving on to 33, The Machine. Yeah, it was fun. I just enjoyed it less than I was hoping to enjoy it. and so just not super disappointed, but not as disappointed as another movie on this list. 32, Dream Scenario. Super weird. I thought this was the weirdest movie of the year for a while, until I saw another one. As you can see, also one off. It was just one worse than what I thought it would be. I think it's the 31st best movie I saw this year out of 120, and it ended up at 32 here on this grand rankings. But let's check out 31, which is Talk to Me. This is one of my favorite horror movies. This was my favorite horror movie of the year, and honestly, so good. Jeepers Creepers indeed. 30th, Next Goal Wins. It's fun. I love football. I do like Taika Waititi. I need to rewatch Jojo Rabbit, which is probably my favorite Taika movie. But this was fun, enjoyable. But yeah, not many people saw this, and I don't blame them, even though 4 out of 7 saw this. Moving on to 29, The Covenant. I found this movie so underwhelming. The marketing made it seem like it was going to tell a completely different story than it actually did, and the story that it told was so rushed, and did not like it. As you can see, I had it at 99th, but it flew up 70 spots. Moving on, 28, Elemental. This is such a cute little story. It's so lovely. Honestly, I like this Pixar movie. It's not the best Pixar movie, but to be fair, Pixar puts out so many bangers that it's hard to be the best. Moving on to 27, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I do enjoy this movie. I thought it's one of my favorite Transformers movies. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I want to see more Transformers, and I can't wait, especially with that tease of the G.I. Joe at the end, where I was literally joking about it the entire time, how G.I. Joe and Transformers should cross over already, and they just haven't. And it was very cool to see that happen. 26, Champions. Very good movie, and I just love all the tub-thumping bits in there. So much fun. 25, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. As you can see, this is one of the biggest falls from grace, as I have it as my 4th favorite movie of the year, but only 4 people saw it, so it got handicapped hardcore. It's so unfortunate. I loved this movie, and honestly, I'm very upset that not more people saw it. Moving on to the next one, Fast X. I'm furious that it got over Dead Reckoning. Very stupid. At number 23 is Renfield, a movie I enjoyed and a lot of people did enjoy, and I'm very excited to see what comes up next with it. Yeah, I just want to see more Nick Cage, honestly. 22, No Hard Feelings. This one is funny. I love how a lot of people check this one out, but honestly, it's such a blast. It's nice to see Jennifer Lawrence having fun again. 21, Asteroid City. I don't know. I'm confused. And I just realized I forgot to put it where it is in my rankings, my personal rankings. Oh my goodness, I need to fix this real quick. Let's find out where it is. Asteroid City in my rankings is at number 69. Nice. But moving on to number 20, Evil Dead Rise. I had a friend absolutely hated this movie, and he was very upset that it came in 20th place overall in the rankings. As you can see, I have it at 91st, so it's not like exceptional, but hey, enough people saw it, I guess. Marketing worked. At number 19 is Joyride. It's a fun picture. Very excited to see more. I don't know. It's just fun. It's a fun ride. 18, The Marsh King's Daughter. Ben Mendelsohn is amazing in this movie, and he's terrifying. But yeah, moving on. Five Nights at Freddy's, the first movie in the list that everyone had seen. I don't know why. I guess it's because we're all gamers at heart, but Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the very few that every single person I took ratings into account for had seen. Moving on to 16, which is Cocaine Bear, which is just awesome. It's such an easy premise. It's such a good premise. Cocaine Bear. At number 15 is Creed 3. This movie was just phenomenal and so phenomenally acted. And I accidentally moved ahead. But yeah, it's great, honestly. Go check it out. Michael B. Jordan directs this, like, a masterclass in directing from Michael B. Jordan. But number 14, Godzilla -1. Epic. This is a top 10 movie for me, as you can see. I love this movie. More people should check it out. I know 5 out of 7 in the group saw it, but more people need to check it out. It is so good. So good. Go check out Godzilla. Easily one of the 10 best movies of the year, but only 14th year. Barbie. So good. What else can you say about Barbie, honestly? I just had a fun time, and I'm Just Ken is one of my favorite sequences of all cinema all year. At 12 is The Creator. I'm going to be honest, this movie is probably one of the most disappointing of the year for me. I was expecting so much more because it's the same director as Rogue One, and I keep hitting the buttons to move on all over the place. I'm so sorry, but I'm getting antsy because this is a long video. At 11th is Poor Things. It's 7th in my year's rankings. It's a phenomenal movie. Go check it out. It's the weirdest movie of the year, easily. All right, now it's the time we've all been waiting for. It is the top 10. And at number 10, Killers of the Flower Moon. A movie that I actually did not really like. As you can see, it's 53rd on my list for the year. And I once again hit the buttons to move on to the next one. I am so sorry. Maybe I'll edit it out. I don't think so. At number 9 is Super Mario, the movie. The second 7 out of 7 movie that everyone saw. It's very much a movie for the fans, and I don't know. I think the fans of the movie really liked it, and it carried the ratings and why it got into the top 10, because I don't think it's a top 10 of the year, personally. At number 8, Blue Beetle. This was my favorite movie of the year. I loved it. As you can see, it's 3rd place on my list, because I decided to not be super biased, but my goodness, I loved Blue Beetle. At number 7, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Very good. One person didn't see it. Ruined it for everyone else, because I think this would have been a top 5 and if that was the case. But next up, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The only movie in the entire rating system that managed to fall in 6th place on both lists. Phenomenal. I was very happy when that happened. I really enjoyed this movie. It's my favorite Guardians movie. Moving on, John Wick Chapter 4. This movie was epic. 6 out of 7 scene. Such a good movie. Very excited to see more in the world of John Wick, especially after seeing The Continental and how good that was. But that's 5th. Time for another entry in the top 5. At number 4, we have Oppenheimer. This is what I consider to be the best movie of the year. And it literally got held back because one person did not see it. And because that one person didn't see Oppenheimer, it ruined it for the rest of them. But it was such a great feature. And I think it would have been number 1 if everyone had seen it. It's just what I personally think. But moving on to number 3. A big surprise. Even though I loved it. I loved the movie. It still shocks me that it's at number 3. And it's at number 3 because everyone saw it and everyone enjoyed it. As you can see, it's 5th on my list for the year, but it's 3rd overall here. Such a fun movie. I love this movie. Every time I think back on this movie, I like it a tad bit more. It is so much fun. And now one of the biggest surprises for me. As you can notice now, the top 3 is all pretty much movies that everyone had seen. The biggest surprise for me is how at number 2, we have Air. This one is a really weird movie because it's like you don't expect it to be as popular as it was amongst the crowd, but everyone saw it and everyone rated it fairly highly, which is why it got skyrocketed up there. A very good movie. But if you're keeping track and you know what movies came out this year, you already know what's number 1. And that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. What can I say? The people have spoken. And this was the best picture of the year, according to my ranking system. I have it as 2nd because Oppenheimer was just a tad bit better. But yeah, phenomenal movie. Everyone loved it. And honestly, it is one of the more deserving movies to get top spot on this list. And I'm very, very happy that this came out this year. Honestly, it was a great film. And I'm very excited for the next one. But yeah, that is all 120 movies I saw this year, ranked, with a twist. If you are still watching, I applaud you. If you're still watching, you deserve a nice cookie. And if you are still watching, that means you really enjoyed the content. Subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below. How would your rankings look? And as a little treat for all of you who are still watching, get ready, because 2024, I'm going insane. I am going to be releasing a new YouTube short, a short review on every movie I watched this year. Every single one. And my goal is to watch one movie a day. And at the end of the year, on January 1st of 2025, there will be not one grand ranking video, but 2 grand ranking videos. So please stick around for that, and I will catch you all next time.